Well, I think this is a good time to maybe get started. I'm Jennifer Suzuki. This is Neal Gann, president of Lot Links. I work in dealerships on a weekly, and I am always appreciative of people that take a minute out of their day to do stuff like this because information, data, just like somebody like Neal who has access to so much buyer information online is what fuels good decisions, efficiencies in the store. And I just feel like people that do stuff like this, they're the ones that can get to that next level. This is going to take a whole lot of time today, but there's a lot of stuff that's packed in here to help you guys understand what's kind of going on with the market right now. It's a bit of an update and helping recognize the opportunities that are right here in front of us because again, like everything in the last 2 years, it just feels like everything keeps taking a turn in the industry. And we're always got to be aware and alert and be just open-minded to new information that can help us make different decisions. Because we can't always be making the same decisions because everything keeps evolving, right, Neal?
Absolutely. First of all, thank you, Jen, for joining us. Jen and I have been friends for a long, long time. We started at Autobytel back when the internet thing was starting out. And, I still laugh when I joined Autobytel, 1% of America was online. And my dad asked me, Jen, he said, do you think this internet thing is going to make it? So fortunately for you and I, it made it and, given us both a wonderful career. So we
Yes.
thank you. And for those of you that don't know Jen, she's probably she is one of the premier trainers in the country. And we've been friends for a long, long time. And she's amazing. So if you need any training help, go see Jen.
Thank you. That's so nice of you. And guys, look, I'm going to give my 2 cents on some of this information too, because I do work alongside sales teams. I'm in stores every single week. And this data, I think it also contributes to sales process. And so I'll chime in and give you a couple of my 2 cents, but I hope you guys will ask questions, put it in the chat for the questions, and then we'll swing back to those at the end. So what's going
Perfect.
on right now? What are you seeing?
Okay, so we're going to blow through a little bit of this at the beginning, and I'm sure people are tired of being hit over the head with how tough the market's getting. So we're going to talk a little bit about the market conditions, and then we're going to talk about some things that we think you can do to implement and hopefully give yourself an opportunity to start winning in this market. So I do want to give a little background on kind of the breadth and depth of our data. I don't think a lot of people in the industry really understand this. Look, we index more than up to 5 million cars on a daily basis. We track 163 variables, everything from pricing and margin to days on lot to even weather. I mean, weather, a couple bad weather weekends can actually affect a dealer's month in sales. So we track all those variables, and we believe that you need to know everything about every car before you can ever think about marketing. And then we also have built our own network of 160 plus automotive publishers. That gives us 100 million shopper interactions per day. We score all those actions. And what that really helps us understand is what does demand look like in the market and what does engagement look like in the market. And then if we have any OEM friends or large dealer group friends, we're able to tell you everything from the VIN level up to the dealer level, market, state, regional, and national. So we have some really, really deep insights into the market and kind of what we believe gives us an advantage of seeing where the market is going and then trying to quickly help our dealers move to where the market's headed. Go to the next slide, please. So craziest market I've seen in 25 years. I mean, 3 or 4 months ago, I had dealers telling me that they had a great year last month, and now that has changed. Jen, what are you seeing?
Even this week, I would say right now, this past week has been crazy. Look, I say to my dealer clients, be on guard because what I'm watching happen, and anybody that's listening, if you can attest to this, put it in the chat. People are discounting cars. there's inventory that's sitting on lots longer, and I see a lot of aged inventory. But the thing is, and maybe I'll swing back on that in a bit. The thing is that people are discounting cars, they are negotiating, and I haven't seen this in a while. And so it's just a reminder that, again, here we go, here comes another change. And like I was just teaching a class this morning, and one of the salespeople he goes, I had I lost a deal to this customer. I'm still trying to poke away at him, but we praised his car last week, and in 1 week, that car went down $1,000. I think he said $2,000, $2,000. And I think, look, it's not every car, but it's again, you keep seeing these things happen. It's like, okay, look, red flags are up. What are we going to do? We got to change our strategies.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
So look, once again, I'm not going to hound on this. Look, we know interest rates are up, inflation is up, gas prices are up. I saw a quote this morning, and I thought it was very interesting from a Nissan dealer. It was in an automotive news story, and he said, look, interest rates are up. There's horrible lease programs happening. Right, there is no lease programs happening right now. And, consumers are now more and more in negative equity when they're coming into trade. So if someone's in negative equity with higher interest rates, with cars being more expensive,
Yeah.
It just doesn't add up for a strong sales position. And, now we're seeing analysts say that some manufacturers could see a 50% drop in their margins next year. So look, the market's tightening up, but we think there's some opportunities for us to help our dealers win. Go to the next slide, please. So, we're seeing this we're seeing used car grosses diminish. Here's all the publicly traded groups. We saw them diminish quarter over quarter, year over year. What that tells us, and what we've been telling dealers for 6 to 9 months, is it's time to clean up your used inventory. That unit that's been on the ground for 300 days, you got to figure out a plan for that car.
I feel
Jim,
like
what are
that's
you telling dealers?
That's a real
Yep.
thing. I mean, I'm sure everyone that's listening in could attest to someone's got a car that's been sitting around for too long. It's just taken up a lot of time, a lot of space, and a lot of energy. But it's happening in some stores more frequently than others. I have gone into some of my clients in the last 6 months, and I'm shocked at some of the things that I see, which is, it's not even just used cars that are sitting longer. I think that some, let's go back 3 months. I can tell you dealers are like they were scooping up everything a year ago, scooping up everything. And I'm like, okay, well, what's going to happen if something changes in the market? Are you going to get caught in a loss? And trying to get rid of these cars. And I think at this moment right now, a lot of stores that I am in, there's some are still hanging on to hope. I'm like, why are you still hanging on to that car? Thinking they're going to make their money on it, and they don't want to cut the loss. And I had the store I worked in last week. This was a Honda store in Ohio. The GM said to me, he goes, we just kind of get into this groove. We get into this groove, and things have been good, and it's hard to change, Jen. And I feel like I got to reteach my used car manager what our benchmarks are. Like 60 days is too long. Get rid of it. Don't hang on to it. And so again, I have to agree. It's rethinking the strategy of what's going on right now.
Yeah. So here's a key data point, and listen, we have tons of data. One, if you go to lotlinks.com, you can see our market data report. You can see tons of data on what's happening on new and used by brand, by state, by market. But one data point that I've really honed in on, as a matter of fact, we pulled this data for a OEM that we presented for a couple weeks ago. And you typically don't see OEMs asking you to come bring used car data in, but their concern was this, that they have a ton of new inventory coming out to their dealers right now, and they know if their dealer's used car inventory is not healthy, that they're going to have two big problems to deal with. They're going to have to figure out a way to clean up that used car, and now they're going to have to deal with the dealer going, hey, you've been begging me for units, and now I'm giving you a bunch. Let's go gain some market share, right? Mm-hmm. So the data trend that we've been watching closely and we've been talking to dealers a lot about is this, that over the last 3 to 4 months, we've seen a huge spike in demand for cars under 25 grand. And we've seen demand diminish for cars over 45,000. As a matter of fact, the beginning of August, used cars that were 15 to 25 grand were turning at the same rate as used cars over 45 grand. That has switched, and you can see by the blue line here. The blue line is used cars under 15 to 25 grand, and the green line is used cars over 45 grand. It's a tough market for those more expensive cars, and we're going to talk about both the new and used side here a little bit further on what we think you need to be doing there. And look, this is another presentation I did for an OEM recently, and we just pulled a Nissan Rogue from 2020 and a Nissan Rogue from 2022, the same car. Look at how much more expensive that car is now, for one, but more importantly, back in 2020, you could get this car with 0 APR, 0 down, 60 months, $523 a month. Reasonable car payment. Most consumers could afford that. Now, what we have to do for that same unit is with a 7% APR, which means you got to have good credit to get to that 7% APR. First of all, let's talk about that. Now you have to stretch them out to 84 months to get them to a payment that they would have just received 2 years ago. So I think you're just going to have to get way more creative. And Jen, I know you're spending a lot of time talking to your dealers about being creative.
Well, I mean, the truth is the prices of cars have gone up. The prices of cars have gone up, and it's sticker shock for people. I mean, every day I say this in my classes, it's switch car mode, switch car mode. Make sure that you're in switch car mode. I'm asking better sales questions to navigate, what features people are most interested in having on their car, because I want to know my inventory and be able to place them on more than one vehicle, because when they get hit with that number, that they're in a 19 and they're trying to make a lateral move into a 23 right now, that payment went way up. They're going to be sticker shock if I'm not ready with knowing the features that they're interested in, so I can show them more options. I could potentially lose this customer altogether. And anyways, I've never seen higher car payments than I've seen, and I've been shocked in the last year at how people just bought whatever. They literally didn't care how much the car cost. They were like, I'll take it. Now people are like, wait a minute, I need a discount. Wait a minute, where's the rebates at? Wait a minute. And again, another shift.
Yep. So, okay, we all know, everybody that's on this call is well aware that the market has shifted or is shifting. And look, we don't know what the future shift is going to bring, but there are some things based on the shifts we're seeing right now that we think we can help with. So we're going to walk through some of the things that we're seeing and some ways that we think you can win. Number one, you need to know your inventory at the bin level. You need to understand what your competitors are doing in the marketplace. And I wouldn't say just your direct competitors in your brand. And I'll give you a perfect example. If you're a Ford dealer and you're selling your F-150s with click to call for price on them, and the Chevy dealer down the street's marking the Silverados down $8,000, I think brand loyalty is going to completely go away right now. Consumers are going to be they've always been payment driven. I can tell you right now that if I were looking at a Ford dealer with click to call for price and a Silverado for $8,000 off down the street, I might like the Ford a little bit better, but not $8,000. I don't like that car $8,000 better. And I'm probably going to go that direction. So it's very, very important right now. We're talking to dealers about this constantly to understand what is happening in your market. How are people pricing new cars right now? Because this is the craziest market I've ever seen with new car pricing. We literally are going from dealers with click to call for price to dealers with $10,000 discounts on them. And, pre-inventory challenges, you might find a dealer that was selling the F-150 for $500. One had it for $500 more than the other guy down the street, but we didn't have $10,000 differences.
I have a dealer that's a top 10 in the country, actually teeters between top 10 and top 5. And, one of the reasons why they got to where they have been is clear and transparent, everything. And I remember the click to call. That seems like a really old school strategy. But you know what? This guy who's killing the game, as far as like selling cars, suddenly decided to change his strategy. Oh, we're gonna try and gross as much as we can. We're starting to see discounts happen. We're starting to fade. Let's change the click to call for pricing. What kind of a strategy is that? I said to them. That you're going to go back in the hands of time. There's no way I'm going to buy anything online unless I know exactly how much it costs. You're going to lose me before you even knew you had me. And knowing your competitors certainly is a recommendation from me too, because I want to be as competitive as I can right now, especially as I'm trying to offload maybe higher priced cars. I want to be attractive. I want to make sure that the value equals the price. I want to make sure my listing is tight.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
So, one, look at the VIN level, and you're always going to hear us say this, at a VIN by VIN level, you need to understand all your opportunities and challenges. On the opportunity side, you need to understand which of your units are in high demand. Is there a lot of in-market shoppers for those cars? Where's my high margin potential? What am I going to do with my fresh inventory on the lot? And then right now, I think there's probably a little more focus on the risk because we've got dealers that have used cars that have been on the ground 300 days, and now all of a sudden they're getting an influx of new car inventory, and they're like, oh crap, like which way do I go? So I would tell you a couple things. One, you really need to understand your units that are at risk of going to wholesale or auction, and you really need to start thinking about your strategy. Am I going to deeply discount these cars, put some kind of campaign against it so I can move them, or am I just going to bite the bullet and send them off to auction now and clean up my inventory? What cars do I have that are in low demand? If I have a car that's in low demand right now, I need to think about how well that car is priced, because if I'm priced at 105% of market and there's not a lot of demand for that car, there's no way I'm going to sell that car. I'm just going to sit around longer and longer. So understand all of your units on a car by car basis. Go to the next slide, please. So I want to show you what great looks like. This is a Honda dealer out of Santa Monica. They saw our data, they saw the trends happening in the market, and they really took all that data and put it to use. So if you don't, Monica, it's an incredibly affluent market. We're talking about movie stars and actors that live there. If you make $100,000 and you live in Santa Monica, you're poor. So this store is based there in this incredibly affluent market, and they don't have one single used car over $40,000 on their lot. As a matter of fact, they only have 9 cars on their lot that are over $30,000. They saw the shift happening months ago. They got rid of their more expensive inventory and brought in less expensive inventory because they saw where the demand was going. We were telling them demand was for used cars under 25,000, and they realigned their whole entire used car inventory to make sure that they had inventory that met the needs of what consumers were looking for. Mm-hmm. Anything you'd like to add here, Jen?
It's actually, thanks for asking. It actually is triggering a thought for me because, recently I've started making suggestions to my dealer clients, knowing what's trending in the marketplace and knowing that we have aged inventory that we're trying to figure out, what are you going to do with it? Like you said, are we going to just offload it, send it to auction, or are we going to re-advertise differently on more of a VIN level or a car by car basis, as you said, so and trying to move this thing. But my suggestion too in the sales strategy is that when salespeople come to the desk on a car, that we know our aged inventory, everybody knows these cars, and that we're putting that second car on our proposals back to customers, because they might get the sticker shock, we might lose them, but if we are aligning the features to the cars that are sitting there on the ground too long that we're trying to get rid of, it also continues the emphasis and focus of moving these cars as a business strategy, right? I mean, you're trying to advertise them here, but once we have customers in front of us, we got to put the deals together. I'm recommending that dealers are showing customers 2 prices. particularly those cars in addition that have been sitting too long. That is a good match, of course. It can't be random. That'd be weird.
Absolutely. And then, once again, hammering that know your data at the VIN level. So this truck's been on the ground for 77 days. It had 627 views in the last 30 days. They've spent $744 marketing this car. Typically, you'd hope you could sell a car after spending that amount of marketing dollars. Unfortunately, the car's priced at 201% of market. I don't care if you put $5,000 against this car, you're not going to sell this car. So you really, really need to be digging into your marketing and making sure that your cars are priced effectively. And if they're not priced effectively, make darn sure that you're not wasting marketing dollars against those cars.
Mm-hmm.
So, we've seen a great, huge spike in cars over 40,000 not moving as quickly as we'd like. As a matter of fact, I was with a publicly traded dealer group last week. 43% of their inventory is over $50,000. I like to say every one of those cars have a comma in the car payment. The OEMs during the inventory challenges started building the most expensive cars they could, because guess how the OEMs make money? The more expensive the car is, the more money the OEM makes. We have a glutton of expensive cars in the market, and then we have market conditions that are making it harder to sell those cars. We got gas prices, we have interest rates. I was talking to a friend yesterday, and he said best rate he could find for a car right now is 6.5%, and that means you have to have great credit for 72 months. I mean, look, it's changing the economics of people being able to afford cars. And the only thing I can tell you right now is that you better make sure you're priced effectively in the market on your used cars that are more than $40,000. And you better start putting some additional marketing against those units. Every dealer we're talking to them and saying, look, the buyer pool for those more expensive units are smaller, and it's going to become incredibly competitive. And one way that you can compete right now is make sure you're merchandising the car well, make sure you're pricing the car well, and then you're going to have to spend a little bit more money to help move those units, or they're just going to sit around.
And the listing, Neal, there's two things. The listing, for me, I oftentimes tell salespeople, right now, when people are starting to discount, you've got to remember, value still has to equal the price. And the listing is oftentimes what's going to drive the interest, and so re-looking at the listing details, I'm always looking for something personalized. I'm always looking for something that stands out, like, for example, if I go and I get in the car and I'm like, oh, there's something like in here that I typically don't see, I'm making sure that is on the listing, because sometimes we're using technology, to VIN decode, and not all the information is really there. But this is a moment, where we're going to pay attention to all these little details, and not just the listing, but in just the focus in the store on aged inventory and knowing something special about every car. Be willing to put that out there, willing to show people more than one vehicle option. But I do feel like there's certain things. The store I trained this morning, they have special value that their competitors don't have. For example, they offer a 3-year maintenance on every single car. Sometimes it gets lost in the description, and it's sort of like, oh, that's what we do. But they also offer other things. They do a 7-day buyback, whatever the thing is. My point is this.
Those have to be listed loud and proud.
We better put that out loud and proud. Yeah, I like that.
They got to be listed loud and proud, and we got dealers spending $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 a month to drive people to the VDP. You better make sure it's there.
It's possible.
So, Jen, I see we're probably running up against time, so I'm going to quickly try and go through these next couple of slides so we can get to questions. Look,
that car's nice.
Dealer, yeah, the car's nice. I love the photo. I like the palm tree in the background. And then I go, oh, wait a second. I have to click to call for price.
Oh,
hey, they did show me the rebates. but it's military, it's college, and
Other ones I don't qualify.
it's a first responder, which most people don't qualify for, right? So you can't just get away with taking good photos now. You have got to make sure that you are, once again, and we're just going to keep hounding this, making sure that you're listing all the advantages that you offer. If you offer free maintenance for 3 years, that needs to be listed. If you're offering a discount, that needs to be loud and proud on your site. So
Or
anyway,
even
if you go
they
to the
did
next
the
slide.
car, like they might have put new tires on there, or they might have brought up the
Yep,
maintenance. All those things sometimes don't get on the listing. Anyway.
agreed. So, and now I want to show you what great looks like. So this is a great dealer, one of the top Buick GMC stores in the country. I love the photo. They've got the name in the background. The price is in green and bold. They've got the OEM $1,000 rebate listed loud on the site. They show the discount of over $7,000. This guy's spending a lot of money driving consumers to his site, and guess what? They're getting there and they're finding what they need. They're finding out, oh boy, this guy's got a $7,000 discount. That's awesome. I know there's a $1,000 rebate. There's great photos. There's videos. Everything a consumer needs is right there. So when I'm spending my hard-earned marketing dollars driving the consumer to my site, he's winning, and he's going to continue to win because he's doing things that other people are not doing in the market.
Mm.
If you go to the next slide for me. So this is our VVO. We'll talk about it at the end about how you can get this for free. It's a free tool. We have about 4,500 dealers across the country that use it. What it does is it helps you understand every car on the ground and how many VDP views you're getting against every car. And it breaks it down by marketing source for you. It also can help you figure out where waste is at. So this dealer in particular has 469 units. You see the little circle around 20% of his marketing. 17 of his units are sucking up 20% of his total budget. And a lot of those cars in there, they're what, Jen?
Well, those are all the cars that are popular online. I've seen this before. Like every single where it's being listed and multiple channels, they're targeting these cars because they get the most play. But it's actually other cars that need to get a little more play. And I think from what you're telling us today, just to be clear, over $40,000 is what we're trying to get rid of.
Yes, absolutely. So let's go take a look at my marketing and understand it, and then move it towards the cars that need it. Now, I do want to show you what a healthy dealership looks like. This dealership does a great job. 80% of their inventory has 30 VDP views or more on all the cars. You can see there's no car that has thousands of views, sucking up a bunch of their budget. And the cars that don't have a lot of views are actually the newer inventory on the dealer's lot, which is exactly what we would expect from that dealer. So this is what healthy looks like. This is what your marketing, how your marketing should be spread across all of your units. Go to the next slide for me. So Jen, I think we can ping back and forth here on kind of, what we think you guys need to be doing. One, you've heard me say it 10 times. You'll hear me say it to every dealer I ever talk to. Know your data at the VIN level. Know your market share by segment. Allocate more. Definitely want to see you thinking about and allocating more money towards your $40,000 cars and above. And at 50, 60, 70, you're really probably going to have to work even harder. Mm-hmm. Think about realigning and stocking inventory under 30 grand. Set goals for every one of your VINs. Make sure you have quality photos and transparent pricing. I mean, some of this stuff is, rudimentary, but unfortunately we're going and looking at dealer sites all over the place that are not following these, sales 101 tools. Anything you'd add to this, Jen?
For me, I was doing a dealer coaching yesterday. I was in Texas, and the dealer is saying to me, oh man, you pointed out so many of the things that we should be doing better at this. I said, look, there's 1,000 pieces to this puzzle. You target one thing, you're going to get better at it. You target one thing. And maybe in this case, it's the aged inventory, or it's how you're buying cars, or as I mentioned, it's that, when you're laser focused on this moment, and as in people are more conscientious, the market's cooling off. I'm watching it. Buyers are like, I'm going to wait it out. I'm not sure what they're waiting for because prices are going up, but I'm in switch car mode, and I'm making sure that all the salespeople know the cars that have been on the ground, and we need a strategy to move them, not only marketing wise, but internally in the sales process. As I mentioned, every time we desk numbers, I'm suggesting that you slide in one of those cars that's a best match as an alternative, because when they get hit with that 1K payment, it doesn't matter how much money you put towards getting that person interested in the car. That's going to be a tough pill to swallow, and so and so now, of course, I want to move cars like everybody else, but you pick one area, know your competition. It's with anything. I say this to dealers all the time. You're saying it in one angle. Know your competitors' listing. Know how they're pricing their cars. Are they doing click to call for a pricing? Like, that's crazy. Don't do that. Are they doing are they listing all the rebates that people don't qualify for? People want clear and transparent information. Now is the time to stand apart from everybody else. Really boost up those listings, the value adds, the details. People are comparing prices out there. They're comparing vehicles. And anyway, my strategy here is the same. Know your competition. If I know that they're pricing more, it doesn't mean that I have to be less. It's that I need to be competitive with my language, what I bring to the table, the way that I'm promoting our company. If there's something that I bring to the table, it's different than my competitors. As I mentioned earlier, maintenance was my example from the class I was teaching today, and they do a buyback, and I'm putting that all over the place. If we put a G into tires and that's not on the listing, because we put recon into the car, maybe we never did that in the past. Now I'm trying to push this focus right now to get rid of these cars or buy cars that are under 30K. That's all part of the mix, isn't it?
Yes. So as I mentioned, we do have free tools we offer. And by the way, when I say free tools, there is no strings attached whatsoever. We have thousands of dealers that use it across the country. And then also, my great friend Jen here, as I said, she's one of the best trainers, and she also has an amazing podcast. You can find her on Apple, Spotify, and Amazon Music. You should go check her out. And then I apologize. I know we're 3 minutes over. I'd love to answer any questions you guys have right now. And also, thank everyone that is in attendance for joining us today.